Up in my part of the country, although it really isn't very different from most of the other public schools in America, I suppose you might call it just about average. 1 teacher to every 32 of them. A 40-year-old school building, but inside equipment up to date as any in the country. A community that's happy to put its tax money into the greatest investment in the world, free education for its children. Anyway, as I said before, here in our town, we're mighty proud of this school, and I guess I'm one of the proudest. In fact, for lots of reasons, I often find myself thinking of it as my school. My school, because it seems only yesterday that I was going after Texas Leaguers on that same playground myself. My school, because my little girl goes here now. And my son graduated from here just a few years back. My school, because after I finished Teachers College, they sent me home here for my first assignment. I've been here ever since. Now I'm the principal. 714 kids, all shapes and sizes. They bring you their questions, their worries, and their "please excuse Willie for being late this morning" notes. After a while, you begin to think of every one of them as your kid. That's why every time I watch them playing in the yard, I always remember a few of them who took the long way home from school. I remember Harvey Miller, who wanted to be an all-valley halfback like his big brother Tom when he went on to high school. I remember Doris Johnson, 9 years old, one of the best-liked youngsters in school, and one of the liveliest. Doris isn't very lively now. And I remember other boys and girls, too. Older ones who took the long way home from school. Gene Barrett is one of them. He's lucky to be alive today, if you want to call it that, even though none of his friends has been allowed to see him for over a year now. The other boy who was with Gene that afternoon wasn't even that lucky. That boy is, well, he's here. And the terrible thing about all these tragic happenings is this: they just didn't have to happen at all. Take the case of Harvey Miller. Remember him? Harvey wasn't a bad kid, or a stupid one either, although there were times when you'd never have guessed it. Harvey was just a healthy, high-spirited boy who liked to show off in a lot of crazy ways, like trying to prove to himself that he was bigger and tougher than a railroad engine. Go on, get out of the yard, you little... Harvey was like hundreds of other boys all over the country. Kids who can read signs but just don't believe what they say. Kids so crazy about trains, the shining network of tracks, and the power and might of locomotives, that no railroad company in the world can build a fence high enough to keep them out of the yards, even though they know perfectly well it's against the law to trespass there. Kids who deliberately do things that can cause terrible accidents, unless they're stopped in time. Other kids who don't realize the pain and suffering that one moment of criminal mischief can cause. Hey, partner, here comes the eastbound stagecoach. Maybe we can knock off a gold shipment. Good shooting, cowboy. Once in a while, a boy gets away with something like this. 18 out of 20 of the guilty ones are caught. You'll find the railway detectives and municipal police have their own methods of catching up with them. But let's get back to Harvey. He'd give anything if the police had only caught him in time that day. As it was, he paid a terrible price for just showing off. Come on, gang, follow the leader. Last one up's a monkey's uncle. Not way up there. We'll watch. Okay, if you guys are yellow. Hey, gang, look. I'm a Sabre jet. Those cars were standing there waiting to be coupled onto another freight. There was no way for Harvey to notice that. He was too busy showing off. Well, that's what happened to Harvey. Harvey stands around and watches while other boys play football this fall. No more dreams about being an All-Valley halfback for him. Doris Johnson, 9 years old. Once, she was one of the most popular, active girls in her class. What happened to Doris was this. Like most little girls her age, she wasn't particularly interested in trains, except when they took her on a trip somewhere with her mother and father. Her head was full of other things that sunny afternoon so long ago. Like a heavy date to go shopping for a new dress after school with her mother. Or wearing red fingernail polish because it makes your hands look so grown up. Usually, Doris was a pretty careful girl about watching where she was going. But this particular afternoon, well, she was already a little late because she'd taken so much time telling the other girls about her new dress. So instead of going home the usual way down 3rd Street, she decided to take a shortcut across the railroad yards. Private property. Trespassing forbidden. Railroads don't put up those warning signs because they look pretty. Railroad men know the dangers there, like slippery steel rails where a little girl can catch her ankle and break it. Careful, Doris. Railroad men know the crushing weight and terrible momentum behind heavily laden freight cars. Look out! Only a shortcut. But for Doris, too, a long way home from school. red fingernail. They make your hands look so grown up. Grown up. Gene Barrett and his best friend Bob Terry thought they were grown up too. And they were. Almost. Juniors in high school. Popular. Gene, the vice president of his class. Bob, the long shot specialist of the basketball squad. And anchorman on the fastest relay team in the conference. Bob was grown up enough to have his own car, even if it was Army surplus. And he was helping to pay for it by working nights down in the gas station at Five Corners. Gene was grown up enough to have found himself a girlfriend over in Fairfield. And the girlfriend had a girlfriend. And the girlfriend's girlfriend was just crazy to meet Bob. A red Jeep, a long, straight road, and a date with a couple of cute chicks. Step on it, Bob. You can beat that freight a mile. Not Bob. He loves that Jeep. He drives it carefully. He doesn't want the paint scratched. Not by a boxcar. Must be an 80-car freight. That's all right. The girls will keep. Now we go. Only, even though the train has gone by, wait till the signal stops before you start across the tracks. But when you're in a hurry, sometimes you forget, just for a moment. The girls did keep. And the gang. And the hep records. And the badminton court. And the Cokes and the hot dogs. The afternoon passed quicker than they knew. The girlfriend's girlfriend turned out to be a honey. And she went for Bob in a big way, too. It was a swell party, and it was hard to break away. The girls wanted Bob and Gene to stay over for supper. Gene was willing, but Bob had to work at the gas station that night, and he took his job mighty seriously. So instead, they cooked up a double date for the junior dance. It was a few minutes past 5 when they finally started back. Now Bob was really in a hurry. His shift on duty began at 6. There was just time to get home, grab a sandwich and a glass of milk, and change into clean coveralls. As for Gene, he was in no particular rush. He just liked to travel fast. Gee willikers, here comes another slow freight. And there goes that red wigwag again. Step on it, Bob. There's still plenty of time. No, in spite of his rush, Bob's common sense still told him it was silly to try to beat a train to a crossing. So they waited. And they waited. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Only they didn't wait quite long enough. That signal's still moving. Gene Barrett, 17 years old, here. And Robert Terry, 17 years old, here. Almost every afternoon, when I've finished my work at the school, I find myself walking along this road on the way home to dinner. And every time I do, I can't help remembering those 4 kids who also took a long way home from school. Harvey and Doris and Jean and Robert. And every time I think of them, I find myself thinking something else. Whenever a child is hurt, a father and mother are hurt. Whenever a child is killed, a father and mother are killed too. Part of them. Inside. I know what I'm talking about. My name is Matthew Terry. You see, Robert was my son.